thanks for the introduction. I am Lorena, and I have the pleasure of moderating one of the most attractive panels of today's conference, THC Beverages. And these companies are distributing these products nationally. Does that mean marijuana is legal?
Pretty sure.
We'll have them answer this question in a little bit, but first, can you please introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your companies?
Absolutely. So my name is Aaron Nosbish. I am the founder and CEO of Breeze. We have entered the market about 11 months ago and sold 1.5 million cans nationwide since then.
I am Drea Gretschel, the founder and CEO of Better Than Booze. We have two product lines, a mocktail and a THC beverage. We're distributed in grocery and liquor stores in 10 states, and we've been around for about 18 months.
Hi, I'm Ben Meggs. I'm the CEO of Bayou City Hemp Company. We're a vertically integrated hemp manufacturer, and we've recently acquired a 10-year-old brewery, and now we own the full supply chain from manufacturing to proprietary nano-emulsion, through beverage production, and that's really allowed us to create this portfolio of cannabis lifestyle brands.
I'm Brandon Harshbarger. I'm the president of Cheech & Chong's Global Holdings. We own all the IP for Cheech & Chong. We're in the regulated market and the hemp-derived THC space that you see starting to take shape now.
Thank you. Can you please, and let's start with you, Aaron, can you please explain the legality around this type of products? I think there's still a little bit of confusion around it.
Yeah, so the key thing to know is the difference between hemp and traditionally known as marijuana. They're both considered cannabis. Hemp has below 0.3% THC by weight, and all of us, our end-use products, have below 0.3% THC. The thing about cans and other products is they're pretty heavy, so below 0.3% can contain quite a bit of THC, although most of us have products under 10 milligrams. For us, it's a 2.5 milligram and a 5 milligram. So that's the basis that leads to federal legality of our products, which is the inverse of the cannabis industry, which is federally illegal still, hopefully to change soon. And then on the state-by-state basis, new legislation is being passed that's either opening it, banning it, or modifying it. And so that's kind of the landscape that allows us all to operate.
Very clear. Any of you would like to add anything to the question?
I think it's certainly important to recognize that it is very state by state, and whether it's cannabis or the hemp side, that makes both industries challenging. But for the hemp beverage space, certainly as we begin to open the market, there are operational components and certain consumer components that are all kind of colliding together to create this space where we can open up the market through the hemp beverage programs.
And what makes you decide which term to use, if it's hemp-derived, Delta-9, THC?
Yeah, I think Delta-9 has kind of created this brand of itself, and so most people think of it as like, oh, that's that shitty Delta-9 bullshit, whatever, excuse my French. But, the thing about THC is the full name of it is Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol. So no matter if you're getting it from a joint at the dispensary or from hemp, the D9 THC is still D9 THC. So, I think most of us just call it THC.
Yeah, we on all our cans, you'll notice we just call it THC.
And then we refer to it often as cannabis as well, because hemp is a variety of cannabis with low THC.
And coming from a brewery owner, so are hops.
Exactly.
There you go. Thank you. So let's talk about distribution. I think a lot of us are very curious of where are you selling these products, and what are the traditional distributors telling you about this? Are they blocking, accepting? Please tell us your experience.
I'll go ahead and start. Distribution is really king. That's kind of where, at least for us, that's where the business is really moving. And we focus both on off-premise and on-premise. Off-premise for us, we've absolutely focused on the liquor store change. We're in Specs, we're in Total Wine, but unique for us is that we're also very focused on the grocery and C-store chain, and I think we're gonna see that do very well. And I think beyond that, on-premise for us is really been a big piece, surprisingly, of our business. I think it's 30% of our THC business, and we're really pushing from kegs and draft. We've seen that that's been a very, very big mover for us.
Yeah, on our side, we have less on-premise. We don't have the keg format yet, but the distribution into the independent C-store channel has been almost immediate. So no matter what market you're in, whether it's Boston or LA and everywhere in between, you've got the neighborhood corner store that's suffered pretty serious loss around some declining sales of alcohol, and this category is making those sales up for them. And in doing that, that brings the distribution. When there's demand, the distribution starts to appear. And we're just at that tipping point where we're getting interest from very large wholesalers. And soon I think it'll be a national distribution framework that's out there. A year from now will be very different.
You know, I think one of the important pieces to recognize here is that as the consumer develops, education components come into play, and certainly for Better Than Booze, we are more of we're an elevated brand. We're an elevated brand experience. So we thrive in like bottle shops and places that are catering to connoisseurs even of alcohol. So, and you're finding that the ring rate, as in like the add to basket or add to cart, is actually increasing at these stores. So that someone might be buying alcohol, they might be buying a non-alc, but they're also buying a THC beverage. And we're finding that this mass consumer is really enjoying a variety of beverage options, and that's the market we're serving. On the on-premise side, Better Than Booze is also in several music venues. One of them is the Grand Ole Opry in Tennessee, of course. That's very notable and a feather in our cap. But
Legit.
Thanks for the props. But you know, more importantly, it's about normalizing this beverage experience and ensuring that the consumer that is a patron of these different venues can enjoy the experience and have options that suit them at the time for what they're looking to do that evening. And I think it's amazing that many of these venues and on-premise and off-premise are all opening their doors to this opportunity.
Yeah, and just some clarity around that. When we refer to on-premise and on-premise is your bars, your restaurants, your clubs, your venues, etc.
Where you consume on site
Exactly.
versus off.
Off-premise being more of your traditional liquor stores or grocery. And you probably noticed that we're not saying dispensary. None of us sell our products, I think, in a dispensary. And the thing is, with beverage and dispensary is it's 2% of all dispensary sales, I think was the last stat.
If that.
If that. And the thing is, like, people, when they go into dispensaries, they're looking for high-dose cannabis. They're not looking for low-dose. So the market that we're actually selling to is not even really cannabis users, but more canna-curious. Even for Breeze, I can say specifically, about 80% of our customers have rarely to never used cannabis before they use our products, which is an exciting number to hear because that leads to new people entering the cannabis market, which means more people heading into dispensary. So this hemp category is really expanding the whole industry rather than retracting from it, which is a very important delineation. And not only that, but we're also able to sell direct to consumer, and that's kind of our specialty at Breeze and where we put a lot of focus. And we're able to, I think we drove 1.1 million in sales just last month, and 95% of that was D2C. And e-commerce is a foreign concept to the cannabis industry, but we need to become a lot more aware and familiar because this is how we can get the maximum amount of access and impact from our products to the consumers. And when we're talking about people turning away from alcohol and choosing a better alternative like a THC or THC and lion's mane beverage, those have major ripple effects in society that lead to a much better society for all of us.
Yeah, I think that's very well said because for us at Better Than Booze, we definitely service, we're the soccer mom brand. And, I think that dispensaries sometimes can be a bit intimidating for the consumer, especially the canna-curious. And our soccer moms are really busy. And so when you talk about direct-to-consumer and you talk about convenience of purchase and providing a product that's really desirable in a format that is very accessible in the day-to-day routine, whether that be grocery or whether that be liquor store, I mean, I want to, I want to grab my bottle of wine and I want to go grab my THC six-pack. And, that's where my head's at.
I think, to go back to distribution a little bit, Brandon hit on something, and I think it rings true. There are larger distributors stepping in, and I think a big part of that is because obviously there's a huge amount of consumer demand out there that's been, where we're from in Texas, very pent up. And, I think the retailers are noticing that. The velocities are there that are competing against alcohol. And, for us, and I think largely the group on stage, distribution is very important, and we're building a interconnected distribution network to go national. And, we kind of kicked that off with Silver Eagle, which is one of the larger InBev distributors in the country. So it shows the excitement around this category.
Talk about Total Wine.
Yeah, Total Wine. It's been pretty insane. One minute they weren't coming in, and the next minute it just blew up, and they brought a lot of brands in very quickly, and the velocities. I mean, Minnesota, you could talk about that, but in Texas, I can tell you it's moving rapidly. I'm sure you guys see it.
Yeah, it's curious too, because I don't know if this is true, but I heard Total Wine is owned by a handful of lawyers. So it's like, these guys are a little bit more keen and aware of the changing law and what's allowing this. And they were one of the first major retail players to jump in.
Yeah, Total Wine, for the audience, is a $4 billion a year, liquor spirits store that is substantial, has a lot of regulatory capacity. They're, you could be like, they're aggressive. They are moving with intention, and once they start, nobody's going to stop them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're big enough.
I think it's going to take those types of chains to step forward. The independent liquor and retailers are certainly becoming, front runners and embracing this. But to gain scale and to gain mass, we're going to be looking to the key retailers that have, multi chains. I think Total Wine & More is 280 something stores, 270, in 20 plus states. And so it's going to take those moments for a key retailer such as that to be a front runner, and then eventually, it's my belief that the others will become more aware and come forward as well with open shelf space for it.
And in order to accomplish that, how are you guys being compliant with our current regulations? Do you guys have fear of these adjustments on regulations in the future, and what's your plan?
Yeah, I think it's
You want to start, Aaron?
sure.
No, I'm kidding.
I'd say, well, funny enough, these guys started laughing because, maybe 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we had the FDA come and knock on our door. It was scary. It was this Men in Black moment. They're like, "Where's Aaron?" And so they
They have guns.
They literally, though, opened a case because supposedly someone complained about an ingredient in our product, which we later found out was a law firm. I'm guessing from some cannabis industry folks, if to be honest, which is silly because it's one plant and it's one family and it's one industry. Together we can go much further. So they did a full investigation into us, our full practices, our third-party lab testing, our THC content and its compliance, and we passed with flying colors. They also checked our labels and our website and our distribution and our ads, and all of those passed as well. So they closed that case and moved on. And it was kind of a moment for the industry to see that this is real, this is not going away, and there's an opportunity for all of us to give true access to this plant at scale. And it's not too late, it is very early, and you should get in, and it's awesome. I mean, I think a lot of people think that there's just this free-for-all going on, that we have no rules, but we're all doing third-party lab testing from the flower to the end products to every extract in between, and it's not as free, careless as you might think. There is some regulation, and we hope that to have more regulation in the near future that is, industry first and focused and patient first and consumer first. And so our focus right now is really ensuring that we have our ducks in a row and the industry does, and that as associations together that we're helping each other stay into compliance. And even if we do see some future restrictions, it's likely that low-dose THC is here to stay. And if that's the case, one of the biggest and strongest move any MSO or any dispensary holder can do, or any brand, is open up in the hemp market so you can access a pocket of consumers. And when I say a pocket, I mean mainstream culture, the biggest pocket of consumers that's ever been
100 million
ever been
consumers.
accessible. So get in the game.
Yeah, I like what you said there, sort of this, I think there's this misconception that maybe hemp beverage is just running wild. But in the spirit of the deal, if you will, the spirit of the deal here is that most of us are looking for exceptional compliance. We want to put out beverage products into distribution that is top notch. I'm a CPG entrepreneur, and I look at our product as being a very high quality beverage product. I don't necessarily see it as just a THC or hemp product. We're a beverage company, and I will be as compliant as any other beverage company that's out there. We even tunnel pasteurize. We have fresh juice in our cans, okay? So we need to even be looking at our co-packing facilities that are also compliant and have certifications that allow us to produce beverages that are even at the standard of a Whole Foods market or a Sprouts market, and that's very important to us.
Yeah, well said. We do a couple of things. I mean, we've got a GMP NSF certified facility. That's really important as we continue to grow into food and beverage. And everyone up here, you're going to hear the same sentiment. We're very, very interested and focused on putting out the highest quality products we can out there, because this is the first foray of putting THC on traditional shelves, and I think that's a pretty amazing thing. So being stewards of the industry, we have to do it in a special way, in the right way. And to take that a little step further, I think in compliance, we can talk about a little bit of education. We do a lot of really cool things for education and activations. We've got a full field marketing team that has done a great job in the on-premise accounts doing special events, and maybe if we have time I'll get into some of those, but it's really cool to see the customers and the retailers getting excited about this.
It's going to be on premise, that last panel. I mean, that's coming this year. I think you're going to see a significant presence in these social establishments where it becomes recognizable just instantaneously. And when you're into that level of sales and growth, the compliance follows you. Like, there will not be bad operators at that level. It just doesn't happen, because the scale of the manufacturing process is the GMP FDA process, which we all have to follow, because that's the world we still have, roots in, because of manufacturing, because of being a beverage company, because of health and wellness sales for years. We're holding ourselves to a much higher standard than I think people even realize.
I think the issue is there are bad actors in hemp, and the stories that you hear, especially around these parts, is like, well, what about these 1,000 milligram gummies being sold to children? And we are all very against that. It is a problem and it needs a solution, but we do not need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We just need to clean up the industry just like we cleaned up cannabis. So this is the evolution.
I mean, I think, blazing a new trail is always going to be challenging, and especially in consumer products, food and beverage. Let's call that what it is. I mean, there's a lot of consumers out there that have never even tried anything with THC in it. They don't know what it's going to make them feel like. Are they going to be able to drive home? Are they going to fall asleep? Are they going to, run naked through the woods? I don't know, right? So we're all trying to understand how to present this product from an education standpoint that allows people to make a decision that is good for them, with the necessary information that we can provide. But again, you said this pretty well too. But in a fun way. We have activations. We want to interact with the consumer, because we really do want to ensure, as stewards of and being front runners in this space, to make sure we're interacting with the consumer in a way that can help them better understand what this is all about, so that they can make the decision for themselves.
Yeah, the examples you gave, it's more like if you're drinking alcohol, that's the things that you would do,
Yeah,
right?
Let me add to that. Because we're a brewery, a decade-old brewery, we have a sizable tap room in Texas, and we've had THC on draft beside alcohol for the better part of 2 years, if not a little over. And knock on wood, but we have had zero incidents. The consumers, they're very adaptive to this. It's low dose, it's ethical. And I will say, these big retailers stepping in, they have very, very tight tolerances. Total Wine is not playing around, so if you don't fit in their tolerance, which is tighter than anything else out there, I can guarantee you, in beverage, they will pull you off shelf. So get ready for that.
Great. Well, you guys already talked about a little bit about the consumer profile. Can you also share what is the total addressable market?
So alcohol is 250 billion in the U.S. That's about the largest industry. It's one of the largest industries in the world. That's a $1.4 trillion market. You know, I think a lot of cannabis and a lot of investors in cannabis always thought that cannabis was going to be this big alcohol killer. But in its current form factor of high THC, no one's replacing their 6-pack on the weekend. It's a different, or their 30-pack. Like, you know, I can get a joint from any of these dispensaries, and I'm a big cannabis guy, and a joint can last me 2 days. You know, it's not the same use case where people drink beer at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at night. So there hasn't been a form factor within traditional cannabis that has really fit the replacement of alcohol or the disrupting of alcohol model, actually. And this is it, guys. Like, actually, this is it. We see all the time. I mean, I've read all of our reviews. I've replaced alcohol with this THC drink. I've gone from a bottle of wine at night to one of your cans, and it's exciting. That's real impact, and I think that I think we're gonna all. I think the reality that we're trying to share here is that this is a lot bigger than most people realize. It's probably bigger than we realize, and I mean, to put this in perspective, Monster Energy, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, is a $60 billion market cap company. $60 billion. They sell green water with caffeine in it. How much is cannabis in a can worth?
More than that.
Anyone else would like to share any data they have in mind? We're good?
I mean,
We can keep going. There's all kinds of.
well, it's a big
stats
market,
out there.
you know, like.
I mean, the stats of Total Wine, like, that's a good way to take this. So, Total Wine, top 10 liquors in Minnesota, ground zero. It's replaced their vodka category in size. It's replaced Pinot Noir in size. It's replaced Chardonnay, and it's replaced their entire craft beer catalog. Not cumulatively, but those individual categories have been beaten by cannabis beverages.
Yeah, I'll say this. There's a co-op grocery store in one of a town or a city in Texas. It's called Wheatsville, and for a year their beer category was down. It was negative, and for the first time in a year, after we put all of our products on shelf in the store, their beer category was positive for the first time. That's pretty telling right there.
I have a question. So I'm not sure if in the United States you can sell alcohol online, but you guys are selling these beverages online. What do you do in order to prove that somebody's old enough to buy this?
Great question. So in alcohol, there is an alcohol online business or direct-to-consumer business. The way that they do it is it's regulated by the TTB, right? Which the whole hemp industry has been really getting close with the TTB to see about regulations underneath them or with them potentially. In the alcohol market, it's primarily retail distribution, but you can do D2C sales, but you do an ID check on the front end and an ID check on delivery. This does affect conversion, so it can reduce the total number of sales or the profitability of those sales. So we're looking for more modern ways to do this that also protects the consumer, protects the brands, protects the industry, but also ensures fluid access to the consumers. So the way we do this today is we have age gates at multiple points on our website. So there's a 21 plus confirmation before you enter the site, a 21 plus confirmation before you check out. I know each of these guys do this. We are part of the HBA, the Hemp Beverage Association, with about 150 brands or something like this that are part of it now. And all of us kind of go through these checks and balances to ensure that we're being safe for the broader market.
Yeah, we do the same. We age gate on direct to consumer. We have a thriving DTC component. We're omni-channel that way. And I think the other thing about direct to consumer that is a massive advantage is that we are also able to understand the consumer further because we can collect data on that consumer, which is really hard to get at a retail level. And so to understand who the early adopters are and how that expansion is cultivating amongst the consumers and how they're talking to friends and family and sort of how this is networking around to build the industry, the direct-to-consumer side is a very important element of that and can be, not only, again, can we like educate from that standpoint, but we can really garner a lot of insights into who this consumer is. And again, ensuring that we're being as safe as we can. We're a 21 plus product. Actually, interestingly enough, we even age gate for our mocktail. And I think I read recently, I think maybe is Target is now considering age gating for their, again, their sort of 0-0 category is being age gated. And so again, I think everyone's looking for responsibility in the alcohol alternative or adult non-alc arena. And it's just gonna come in some different formats at the moment, but we're all trying to align.
Yeah, and I think what people might not realize is how fast this stuff is moving, like very, very, very fast. Target, for example, is now taking adaptogenic mushrooms and non-alc alternatives that use different nervine compounds. I mean, guys, these are sister plants of cannabis, and it's not going to be long before they say, okay, cool, let's flip the switch and turn this thing on. And it's going to happen soon. I think one thing I wanted just to share, and I think in the spirit of the collective growth of this industry, this is not too late to get in this game, and you can, and it's not as complicated as it might seem. Hemp licenses are much more affordable than cannabis licenses.
I think in Texas they're $150 for a retail license.
Right. And a lot of us are using also, a lot of people are, where are you getting your THC, right? There's two ways that most people are doing it. They're either converting CBD into THC, which fewer and fewer people are doing that. A lot of people now are doing mother liquor, which is a naturally derived THC from hemp. It's a byproduct of CBD extraction, and it's rich in these minor cannabinoids, including THC. And so we put those into our products to get this naturally derived product. My point with this is, it doesn't take much. Come talk to any of us, and I highly recommend considering adding a hemp beverage or a hemp product to the portfolio of your brands or your holding companies. It's a massive opportunity. It's unlikely that this goes away, and if it does continue, it becomes a huge opportunity to open up your market share to places and degrees that you probably haven't even considered before.
Thanks, Aaron. And we have a few minutes for a couple questions. Anybody that would like to, back there, please.
The Farm Bill.
Completely requiring regulation of of this hemp with any THC. You think there might be some type of federal breakout that will allow for regulation on a product they basically have already said is legal?
Our expectation is the Farm Bill is just they kick the can forward and there's no change, and the state level policy continues to add clarification. It's really not their place to try to delineate this. The FDA has some onus unless the TTB comes in and decides to actually capture the regulatory compliance perspective. I mean, the Farm Bill is about agriculture. They created that delineation, and there is no way they can back out of that without literally overcoming or overstepping what their jurisdiction is.
And I think that, the Farm Bill, I mean, it's the entire agricultural bill for the United States. It's a 1,000-page, multi-thousands pages, and hemp is all but less than 10 pages. I don't think that's the most important thing to them, although we like to think it is. I'd also add that it seems like the toothpaste is out of the tube. We've talked about some of the largest retailers in the country, some of the largest distributors. The business is growing faster than they're going to get around to even discussing the Farm Bill.
These guys are pretty slow. You got to remember as well. Like there's
Really?
there's a lot of lobbying dollars, unfortunately, by some of the MSOs, the large ones specifically, which is kind of funny because at the same time they're investing in hemp products. But the key there is it's growing so fast, and the people are changing their opinion on these products and wanting to keep them around, which is usually what affects policy more than money does.
Thank you.
In our pre-meeting, I mean, I think we go ahead. Yeah, well, we just talked about how I think we've been coming here, all of us, for several years, and just the mentality, the reception, it's all changing.
We have another question back there.
I can't see.
Sorry, I can't look.
I can't see you.
Come out of the shadows.
Show yourself.
And it's wonderful and it's needed and it's fantastic to see self-regulation while there's a void, right? Understanding that there are bad actors, and you've all referenced those bad actors and the toll that that takes on the industry. What role should, non-bad actors, good actors play in terms of saying, listen, we're not going to source cannabinoids from you if you are providing them to companies that are putting them, 50, 100 milligrams in a gummy rope, if you're selling them direct to consumer without age gating? I mean, what can you all do until there is this void that is filled?
Get connected. We can get together. So the question was, how do we, as good actors in the industry, help stop bad actors? And that's a great question, and it is a responsibility of ours for the entire industry, and we take it very seriously. The way we do it is we get together, we get connected, we get clear, we get ideas of who are the other good actors on every step of the chain, and how do we support and build a broader, more successful, connected, and better together category.
I mean, it's a shout out for Chris Lackner and the Hemp Beverage Alliance and the board of directors and the people that aren't up here that quite literally have a huge amount of experience and have paved the way, that are like big personalities with nothing but positive to deliver for cannabis and the community as a whole. I mean, asking us to self-police is like, there's a huge illicit market that exists in this country. Very rarely are the hemp guys the illicit market, right? So we're, there's a handful of people that might get out there that were unprepared. That happens, but you don't see the type of negligence. It's very rare.
You can go to my website, badactors.com.
Check that.
Is this real?
Is it an IMDb
This is
profile?
real?
I'm just kidding.
But you
There
really,
are some actual bad
but you really
actors
do
on
want to
there,
do
too.
it, don't you? I think leading by example is a big part of it, and I think you're going to see some similarities of who's up here on stage. And as mentioned, the HBA, it's not that difficult to get involved. Every single day there's about 10 new brands coming out, there's a lot of information and talk around this. And again, get with any of us on stage, and we'd be happy to walk you through it.
I think also a goal of ours is to work with Congress and FDA in order to kind of clarify what these regulations should be, and we hope to do that with the broader cannabis industry as a whole. I mean, you guys have been dealing with crazy legislation and bullshit for years and years and years. I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons that we can apply to the hemp industry to keep access to this plant open for all of us, and that's where we should head.
And we can get in the weeds with all of this because there's a lot to it. But, on a sort of a closing remark, if you will, this is a really exciting time. The market is there. The consumers want this product. And I think we're at the tip of the iceberg here. And we're going to do it right. And we're going to have some fun doing it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the last remarks, and thank you for your experience and conversation. This was great. Thanks to the panelists.
Thank you.
And thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.